Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when we may find ourselves standing alone, walking a path that feels unfamiliar or perhaps even deserted. A woman without friends, you might say, is in an unfortunate position, but let me tell you today, that woman is not broken. She is not incomplete. She is a woman in her most powerful state. She is a woman with a purpose and a vision, a woman whose potential is untapped and whose resilience is boundless. You see, society often paints a picture that defines a woman's worth by the number of friends she has or the relationships she holds. But let me challenge that belief today. Having friends is not what makes you valuable. Your worth is not defined by the number of people who surround you, but by the relationship you have with yourself. You must first understand that your identity is not tied to your connections with others. It is rooted in who you are becoming, and how you choose to show up in the world. When you are without friends, you are not missing out on something. It is a chance to rediscover yourself, to find your own rhythm, to hear your own voice without distractions. I know, society has taught us to fear loneliness. It has convinced us that being alone means we are unloved, unworthy, or invisible. But I ask you today to let go of that fear. Walk into the silence. Walk into that space where you have no one to rely on but yourself. There is strength in solitude. There is beauty in walking alone. When you embrace solitude, you begin to see the power within you that you never knew existed. You begin to realize that your greatest source of love, validation, and strength comes from within. The more you stand in your own truth, the less you depend on the approval of others to define your worth. You become more of who you are meant to be, free from the expectations and limitations that others might place upon you. Let's talk about self-worth. A woman who has no friends might wonder if there is something wrong with her. She may question her value or wonder why others don't gravitate toward her. But let me remind you, your worth has never been about your relationships with others. Your worth is inherent. It is there the moment you were created. The number of friends you have does not diminish or increase your value as a woman. No. You are a masterpiece perfectly made with purpose and grace. It is time to reject the idea that you need the validation of others to feel worthy. You are enough just as you are right here and right now. Now let's address something else, the fear of being alone. The fear that keeps so many of us from stepping into the full power of solitude. I want you to hear me clearly. Loneliness is not a curse, it is an opportunity. It is an invitation to connect deeper with yourself. Yes, it can be uncomfortable. Yes, it can bring up feelings of insecurity and doubt. But that discomfort is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Through loneliness, you learn to heal the parts of yourself that you may have neglected. You confront the fears, the insecurities, and the past hurts that have kept you from fully embracing your potential. In the silence, you hear God's voice more clearly. You discover strength in places you didn't know existed. You reconnect with the woman inside you, the woman who has been waiting for you to acknowledge her, to love her, and to walk alongside her with confidence. The reality is that when you walk alone, you have the power to create your own boundaries. You have the power to protect your peace and to determine what is worthy of your energy. Being without friends doesn't mean you have to be without companionship or love. It means that you have the power to choose. You get to decide who is worthy of entering your inner circle. You learn to set boundaries that preserve your peace, your heart, and your energy. You learn that walking alone is not an indication of weakness, it is a sign of your strength. You are learning to trust yourself, to honor your needs, and to walk forward with the clarity that comes when you are no longer distracted by the opinions or needs of others. A woman without friends is not lost. She is simply finding herself. She is realizing her worth. She is learning to navigate the world on her own terms. She is building resilience, strengthening her character, and becoming the woman she was always meant to be. And when the time comes, she will find the relationships that are meant to complement her journey, not define it. For now, she walks with grace, with dignity, and with a quiet confidence that says, I am enough, and I will thrive. There's a misconception in our world that solitude is something to be feared, something that signals loneliness or a lack of connection. Society has taught us that to be alone is to be incomplete, to be missing something, or worse, someone. But today I want to challenge that idea and invite you to see solitude from a completely different perspective. Solitude is not your enemy, it is your greatest ally. When you learn to embrace solitude, you begin to uncover a power within you that you never knew existed. Solitude is where you get to meet yourself. So often in the busyness of life, we surround ourselves with noise, distractions, and people. We're constantly moving, constantly doing, always seeking validation from others. But in the stillness, in the quiet moments when we are alone, we get to hear our true voice. We hear the whisper of our inner self, the voice that knows who we are and who we are meant to become. It is in these moments of solitude that we reconnect with our deepest desires, our dreams, and our purpose. Solitude is the space where we can tune out the chaos of the world and tune into the stillness of our soul. When you stand in solitude, you are not just alone, you are in the presence of your own strength. There is an incredible power in learning how to be with yourself, in trusting yourself, and in growing in confidence with every step you take, even when no one is watching. In solitude, you face your own fears, your doubts, and your insecurities, but you also have the space to conquer them. Solitude forces you to confront the parts of yourself that you might otherwise ignore, the places where you need healing, growth, and change. But this is not something to shy away from. This is where transformation happens. You have the opportunity to address your pain, your vulnerabilities, and emerge stronger. Many people fear solitude because it forces them to face parts of themselves they have been avoiding. But the truth is, you cannot run from yourself. No matter how much noise you surround yourself with, your inner struggles will eventually catch up with you. Solitude offers you the chance to face them head on, and in that space you can find the courage to heal. It is through solitude that you break free from external expectations and societal pressures. You no longer seek validation from others because you realize that everything you need, everything you seek is already within you. You begin to recognize your inherent worth, your unique talents, and your personal power. In solitude, you also learn to trust your own instincts. You begin to understand that you don't need anyone's permission to follow your dreams. You don't need anyone to tell you that you're capable because you already know it deep within your heart. It is through solitude that you find clarity about the direction you want your life to take. When the world is quiet and you are alone, you have the space to reflect on your purpose, your values, and your aspirations. You stop seeking approval from others and start listening to your own inner guidance. This clarity is powerful because it allows you to make decisions that align with your true self, not based on external pressures, but on what feels right for you. One of the most beautiful aspects of solitude is the freedom it offers. In solitude, you are free from the influence of others' opinions. You can be who you truly are without fear of judgment or comparison. There is no one to impress, no one to compete with. You are free to explore your passions, to experiment with new ideas, and to grow into the person you are destined to be. You realize that you don't need the approval of others to validate your worth or your journey. This freedom to be unapologetically yourself is liberating. It is in solitude that you begin to create your own path, one that is uniquely yours without the need to conform to the expectations of others. Finally, solitude teaches you the art of self-sufficiency. When you are alone, you are forced to rely on yourself, not just for survival, but for happiness, fulfillment, and peace. You learn that your happiness does not depend on the presence of others, but on your own ability to cultivate it from within. Solitude allows you to nurture your own spirit, to take care of your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. You learn to enjoy your own company, to find joy in the simple moments, and to create a life that is rich with meaning and purpose, regardless of the number of people in it. Solitude is not the absence of connection, it is the foundation of deep connection. When you learn to be content with yourself, to find strength and peace within, you become more connected to the world around you. You begin to attract the right people into your life, those who resonate with your authentic self, those who see you for who you truly are. The relationships you form in solitude are not based on need or dependence, but on mutual respect, understanding, and love. So I encourage you today to stop fearing solitude. Embrace it. It is in these moments of being alone that you will find your greatest strength. You will find the power to heal, the power to grow, and the power to create the life you have always dreamed of. Solitude is not a curse, it is a gift that gives you the opportunity to discover who you truly are, to build your inner strength, and to walk confidently in the direction of your dreams. There comes a time in every woman's life when she must stand face to face with the question, who am I? This question is not always asked in a moment of peace or clarity. It often rises out of chaos, confusion, or a deep sense of loss. It can arise after a heartbreak, a rejection, a failure, or when you feel forgotten or overlooked by the world. But I want to tell you today that the moment you face this question is not a moment of despair, it is a moment of power. It is a moment when you are being called to reclaim your identity and your worth. You see, life has a way of pulling us in different directions, making us believe that our value comes from external sources. We are told that our worth is determined by how others see us, how many friends we have, or what we accomplish. But let me remind you, your worth is not tied to anyone else's opinion of you. It is not determined by your past, your mistakes, or your perceived failures. Your worth is inherent. It is intrinsic. You were born with value that no one can take away from you. When we lose sight of our identity, it's easy to get lost in what the world says about us. We begin to compare ourselves to others, measuring our worth by their standards, their successes, their expectations. And in doing so, we forget the most important truth, that we were created with a unique purpose, a specific calling, and a beauty that is all our own. Your identity is not for anyone else to define. It is for you to discover. And when you reclaim it, when you stand in the fullness of who you are, you step into your true power. You were not meant to live life constantly seeking validation or approval from others. You were not meant to shrink or change yourself to fit into someone else's box. You are more than the titles you wear, the roles you play, or the labels society places on you. You are a woman fearfully and wonderfully made, with dreams that are meant to be realized and potential that is limitless. But to tap into that potential, you must first understand that your worth is not negotiable. No matter what you've been through, no matter what you've lost, you are worthy of love, respect, and success. Reclaiming your identity is about coming back to the truth of who you are. It is about silencing the voices that try to tell you that you are not enough, that you are too much, or that you are less than. It is about standing in the mirror and looking at the woman staring back at you and saying, I see you, I honor you, I am proud of you. It is about learning to love yourself fiercely, to accept all parts of you, the flaws, the scars, the victories, and the defeats. It is about embracing every chapter of your story, knowing that each page has shaped you into the incredible woman you are today. When you reclaim your worth, you stop looking to others to fill the voids within you. You begin to realize that you are whole, complete, and enough just as you are. You no longer seek validation from the outside world because you have found it within. You begin to make choices based on your values, your dreams, and your inner truth rather than on what others expect or want from you. And in doing so, you begin to attract the right people, the right opportunities, and the right circumstances that align with who you are becoming. Reclaiming your identity is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process, a lifelong journey. But I promise you, every moment of self-reflection, every choice to honor your worth brings you closer to the woman you are meant to be. You will rise, you will flourish, and you will shine in ways you never thought possible. So let go of the old narratives, let go of the lies, and stand in the fullness of who you are. Reclaim your identity. Reclaim your worth. Because, my dear sister, you are more than enough, and the world is waiting for you to show up and live in the fullness of your power. We live in a world that thrives on constant connection, social media, group chats, endless notifications. We're taught that being surrounded by others is the key to happiness, success, and fulfillment. But what happens when you find yourself standing alone? What happens when you feel that fear creeping in, telling you that you don't belong, that you're missing something? Let me tell you this, the fear of being alone is not a reflection of who you are. It is a reflection of the world's expectations that we've allowed to shape how we see ourselves. The fear of being alone can be overwhelming, especially when we look around and see others seemingly thriving in their friendships, relationships, and communities. It's easy to believe that the absence of company means we're incomplete, that there's something wrong with us. But what if I told you that this fear, this feeling of isolation, is an opportunity in disguise? What if the very thing you fear is actually the very thing you need to face in order to grow? You see, being alone doesn't mean you are unworthy. It doesn't mean you are unloved. It simply means that you are in a place where you have the space to grow and rediscover yourself. It's in those moments of solitude where you are forced to face your own reflection without distractions, without the noise of the world telling you who you should be. And let me tell you, there's incredible power in that. There is immense strength in standing tall in your own presence. It's a sign of maturity when you can look within yourself and find peace instead of seeking it in others. The fear of being alone stems from a deep-seated belief that we need others to validate our worth. But this couldn't be further from the truth. You don't need someone else to tell you that you're valuable. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Your worth is inherent. It's in your very being. The fact that you exist means you matter. The fact that you can walk through life on your own terms means that you are resilient, capable, and strong beyond measure. The fear is only a shadow, a temporary distraction from the truth of your own power. Being alone allows you to reconnect with your inner self in a way that crowded spaces never can. When you are alone, you are free to explore your thoughts, to clarify your goals, and to rediscover your passions. You can hear the whispers of your heart that get drowned out by the noise of others. It's in the quiet moments that you begin to find clarity and purpose. You discover that you are not defined by the people around you, but by the choices you make and the life you create for yourself. This is when you stop chasing after approval and start living for your own approval. When you're comfortable with being alone, you stop settling for relationships that don't serve you, friendships that drain you, and connections that don't nurture you. You learn to create your own happiness instead of relying on others to make you feel whole. And here's the thing, when you do this, when you stand confidently in your own space, that's when the right people will come into your life. Not because you need them, but because you want them. You will attract people who value you for who you are, not for the image you've projected. So I encourage you today to embrace the fear. Don't run from it. Don't hide from it. Look it in the face and tell it that you are strong enough to handle it. Tell yourself that you are worthy enough to walk alone for a season if necessary. And when you do, you'll realize that the fear of being alone is nothing more than a doorway to your own empowerment. It's a doorway to discovering the incredible person you are, a person who doesn't need to rely on anyone else for validation, because you've already found it within yourself. The truth is, walking alone can be one of the most liberating experiences you'll ever have. When you no longer fear the silence or the solitude, you'll begin to hear your own voice with clarity. You'll begin to step into a version of yourself that is unshaken, unbothered, and unstoppable. And that, my friend, is the ultimate freedom. Building a healthy relationship with yourself is one of the most important, yet often overlooked aspects of personal growth. It's easy to focus on what others think of us, what we can offer to those around us, and how we measure up to societal standards. But the truth is, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you cultivate with yourself. Everything else stems from how you see yourself, how you treat yourself, and how you allow others to treat you. If you are not at peace with who you are, everything you do will be a reflection of that inner turmoil. It begins with self-awareness, the ability to truly know yourself, to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your dreams, and your fears. Many of us go through life never truly taking the time to sit with ourselves and reflect on who we are at the core. We are busy trying to keep up with everyone else, living up to expectations, or being what others need us to be. But building a healthy relationship with yourself requires a willingness to look inward and ask, who am I? Not just on the surface, not just in the roles you play, but deep down in the essence of who you are. What are your desires? What are the things that make you come alive? What parts of you have been neglected or hidden away because they don't fit into the mold society has created for you? Once you begin to understand who you are, you can begin to love who you are. Loving yourself doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean never making mistakes. It means accepting yourself fully, imperfections and all. It means letting go of the harsh inner critic that tells you you're not good enough or that you don't deserve love or happiness. When you learn to love yourself, you stop seeking validation from others because you've already validated yourself. You stop waiting for someone else to tell you that you matter because you already know it. This love is not based on performance or outward achievements, but on an unconditional acceptance of your own worth. Self-love also means being kind to yourself. Often we are our harshest critics. We beat ourselves up for mistakes, for not meeting certain expectations, for not living up to some imagined standard of perfection. But building a healthy relationship with yourself requires compassion. It means forgiving yourself when you fall short and offering yourself the same kindness you would give to a friend. You would never tell your friend that they are worthless after a mistake, so why tell yourself that? Treat yourself with the same compassion, understanding, and patience you would offer to someone you love deeply. When you fall, lift yourself up with gentle words, not with condemnation. Recognize that growth is a process, and every step forward, no matter how small, is worth celebrating. Part of loving yourself is also about setting healthy boundaries. It's about knowing when to say yes and when to say no, not out of obligation, but out of self-respect. It's about protecting your peace, your time, and your energy. So often we say yes to things that drain us, to people who take from us without giving in return. But when you build a healthy relationship with yourself, you understand the importance of guarding your space. You know that you are deserving of rest, of time to recharge, and of relationships that nourish rather than deplete you. You don't have to be everything to everyone, and you don't have to accept every invitation that comes your way. Protect your energy and remember that saying no is a powerful form of self-care. Building a healthy relationship with yourself also requires trust. Trust in your own abilities, in your intuition, and in your judgment. How many times have you second-guessed yourself or doubted your choices? It's easy to fall into the trap of seeking others' opinions or approval, but when you trust yourself, you develop a confidence that comes from within. You stop looking for external validation and start relying on your inner voice to guide you. You trust that you know what's best for you, and you take action based on that trust, even if it means going against the grain or stepping into the unknown. And finally, building a healthy relationship with yourself requires giving yourself grace. We are all works in progress, and it's okay to not have it all figured out. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to not have all the answers. In fact, it's in the moments of uncertainty that we grow the most. Allow yourself to stumble. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Allow yourself to be human. And when you do, remember that failure is not a reflection of who you are. It's simply a part of the process. With every setback comes an opportunity to learn, to rise again, and to move forward with greater strength and wisdom. Building a healthy relationship with yourself is a journey. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's not always easy. But it is the most rewarding journey you will ever take. When you love, trust, and respect yourself, everything else in life falls into place. You begin to attract healthier relationships, better opportunities, and a deeper sense of fulfillment. So take the time today, right now, to start building that relationship with yourself. Nurture it, protect it, and watch as it transforms the way you see the world and the way the world sees you. Building a healthy relationship with yourself is not a destination, but a continuous journey of growth, love, and self-discovery. It is the foundation upon which everything else is built. As you learn to embrace your strengths and weaknesses, practice kindness, set boundaries, trust your instincts, and give yourself grace, you will find that the world around you begins to change. You will attract relationships that honor and uplift you, opportunities that align with your true purpose, and a sense of peace that comes from knowing who you truly are. Remember, you are worthy of love, respect, and care, and it all starts with how you treat yourself. So take a moment today to acknowledge your own worth, celebrate your progress, and commit to nurturing the most important relationship of your life, the one with yourself.